Okay, so that completes your first week. Hopefully you had a chance to meditate for 5 minutes a day. I'm going to do a very rapid review of everything that I covered in the last PowerPoint that you watched last week. But I'd also like to respond to whatever questions you have. Of course, because this is over the internet and I'm not quite set up for that, I'm just going to draw on my experience the sort of questions that people will ask. Basically, in the last week, using that meditation exercise, you have hopefully, even in a minute way, and however briefly, come upon an experience of yourself as more relaxed than you typically are. And hopefully through your logs, you've come to realize that you tend to feel more relaxed after your practice than you did before you started. I would like you to keep in mind going forward that you are not letting any kind of sensation, emotion, or thought go forever. It is just for the duration of your practice, that 5 minutes, that's all you're letting it go for. And also, people will often ask about body position again or falling asleep. So body position doesn't really matter. If you lie down when you practice, you are more likely to fall asleep simply because you associate laying down and relaxing with sleeping. This will not be a problem as you generate more and more intent and clarity around the relaxed experience of yourself, which you're beginning to have now. Falling asleep while you meditate is not a problem. It is not a failure. It is a success. What it means is that you are relaxing enough that you are falling asleep. And I want you to relax. I want you to learn relaxation as a skill. So it's not a failure. You just need to continue practicing, and gradually you will begin to identify a subtler or nuanced place where you're able to relax in a very deep way without falling asleep. So it's really just a matter of time. Falling asleep is not a failure. In fact, it is a success. Other questions that people may comment on are feelings or thoughts of failure, which we covered a little bit last week, and I will review very shortly. And also the feeling that you don't know how to meditate yet. For certain, you do not, and my goal is to have you meditating in 5 weeks, which you've agreed to. So I still have 4 more weeks, and I'm very confident that you're going to get there, simply because I've seen so many people do this before. Okay, you cannot fail at meditation, all right? Failure is a very common phenomenon. It's not one that I want to have you ignore or hide from yourself. It's sort of a part of it. However, your understanding of failure is a faulty assumption. You are not failing at this, and over the next 4 or 5 weeks this will become abundantly clear to you. Meditation itself is a practice. It's not a goal. And the thoughts and feelings of failure related to your practice are very common, and I want you to allow these. However, I need you to understand that these thoughts simply reveal a false goal, and your true purpose while meditating will become amply clear to you in about 5 weeks. We talked about meditation as a skill in itself, and the benefit of it being a skill and not mired in culture is that it makes it extremely accessible to you, and in the end I really want this skill to be so accessible that you can use it whenever you want to, whether you are walking or talking. I discussed the stress response system and how the mind responds to threat, primarily through filtering. That the more stressed we are, the more the mind filters information to have you pay increased attention on what it is you deem a threat, and to eliminate information so that it will support that focus. And this quality has been very adaptive and helpful to the human animal, because it's allowed us to hone in on a threat and then either run from it or attack it or play dead to be uninteresting to whatever the threat is. And this is very useful. However, if all you have is a stress response, then you will always respond to potential threat, meaning the real or the imagined, because it makes no difference to the threat reduction system inside of your brain. And so it becomes very important that there's an alternative, which is a relaxation response. Not only will the mind filter out information, but it will also amplify information to, again, make it very accessible and clear to you what is perceived as a danger. And so everybody's had this experience where they'll be asleep at night or going to sleep, and the mind will begin to introduce information that it deems to be a threat, and will in fact amplify it and make it represent as larger or more important to you in its attempt to help you to attend to that. The challenge being that some of these threats are not immediate. Some of them are imagined. We talked about the fight or flight response and how this response has a very noticeable impact on our physiology, our physical body. And I gave the example of how this response is very useful if you're running from something like a dinosaur. However, if there's no dinosaur there, you don't want that physiological response, really. And also, a lot of people remain in a state of physiological stress response for long periods of time, sometimes weeks, months, or years, and this has a destructive impact on the body. In this way, you may be asking yourself if the mind is a friend or a foe, and it is both. We talked a little bit about intent and the power of intent and the importance of understanding that your intent, especially with the week going forward, and there will be PowerPoints to clarify this even more as we go forward, is going to be simply to relax. And I shared with you that the more powerful your intent is, the more motivated, the more passionate you are, the clearer your intent becomes, and that also brings clarity to your meditative experience. So your intent in this practice is simply to relax. And if not relaxation, then it is a distraction. And this is every sensation, emotion, or thought that you experience. Then I dramatized meditation as a vault for you. We discussed body position, and I gave you your practice of counting from 10 down to 0, and that we will not be doing again for the remainder of the 5 weeks. We will be moving on to a different meditation, and I will introduce you to that today. Here we go. You ever walk into a glamorous or fancy schmancy hotel, and the first time that you're there, you are awestruck by the colors, the shine, the geometry of the place. But within a few days, you are no longer paying attention, and instead are probably looking at your feet as you make your way through the lobby. Think of a time you went into a cathedral, a church, somewhere in nature, anything remarkable. And the first time that you witness it, you are awestruck. You are excited. There's a smile on your face, a playfulness perhaps, as you see what it is that is going on around you. But within a few days, you're no longer paying attention. It's the same way as when you moved into the place where you're living right now. The first time you walked in, you noticed a lot of things. There was an excitement. There was an interaction between you and your environment that was rich, full, and alive. But within a few days, you had stopped paying attention. The arousal that new information creates is caused by its unfamiliarity. And in an unfamiliar situation, there is a lack of predictability, and as a result, more uncertainty. The mind doesn't really like uncertainty very much. And in this way, the mind acts as a filter. The mind will filter out information that is unfamiliar, making it similar to the past for ease of understanding. This happens in relationships. The relationship starts off new. There's a lot of new, a lot which is unfamiliar. And gradually, your mind associates what's happening currently with what happens in the past for you to understand it, to orient you, to reduce uncertainty, to make the current situation predictable for you. In this way, you see what you have always seen, and stress will amplify this likelihood. Now, of course, in life, this tendency of the mind to filter information from you makes life overly familiar. It creates a sense of predictability and certainty, which is not truly there, and it plays havoc with your life. The mind will focus in on perceived threat, any kind of tension and stress, any type of uncertainty, unpredictability, and inflate it to make the threat easier to resolve. And the mind will represent material in the same way again and again, using the same mental language over and over again. Your mind will draw on the past to understand the present. In life, difficult, but this tendency of the mind to filter makes meditation easier. It means that as you work the practice, you will confront the same thoughts, the same sensations, the same emotions, and gradually you become skilled at letting it go. And perhaps because the mind filters in the way that it does, and because the past experiences that the mind draws on to understand the present, the experiences in meditation are rich and deep and provocative. Meditation is not the opioid experience that people want it to be. Meditation is a roller coaster. Meditation is not static. It is dynamic, unexpected, and evolving. At times, there is a blur of sensation, emotion, and thought. And these distractions are necessary. They are not a failure. What becomes so evocative while you meditate is that the experiences of thinking and emotion and physical sensation do not happen off in another room somewhere, like you want it to be, that you can reflect on what it is that you are experiencing. Instead, it is you that experiences the problem solving of a photocopier that doesn't work, a conversation you had with a coworker where you didn't say everything that you wanted to say, an itchy nose. Whatever it is that comes up while you meditate, it is real and it is powerful. It is not experienced as if it is off in some other room, as if there is some kind of a partition or a distance between you and your experience of the distraction. Instead, it is alive, real, vivid. So in general, you are used to functioning within a degree of arousal or stress. And when you first sit down to meditate, if you look at this graph, I've arbitrarily set the tension at, it looks like about an 85. So you start off with your practice, and typically people do feel an unpacking of sensation, emotion, and thought, which can be challenging. But using the skills that you're learning here, you manage to let it go. And as you do, you drop into a more relaxed state, a deeper meditation. And this feels good. It is self-reinforcing to feel at ease and to feel relaxed. And then, without even realizing it, without even being aware that it happens, your mind picks up on and attends to some sensation, emotion, or thought, and as it does, it becomes more and more tense. You're at the highest point of tension, or perhaps just before, when you become aware of what is happening inside of you, and then you remember that the intent with this practice is to relax, and so you work at letting it go, and eventually you do. And when you do, you drop deeper into the meditation, into a greater state of relaxation. And this process continues like a roller coaster, up and down, tension and relaxation, back and forth. And this experience is normal. Again, meditation is not static. It is dynamic, evolving, alive, rich. When I sit down to practice, the first thing that I do is look for some kind of distraction or tension, any sensation, emotion, or thought, because I know that once I let that go, I will drop into a state of relaxation, a state of expanded awareness. Distraction or tension while you practice is not your enemy. It is a doorway to a deeper meditation. You want distraction and tension while you work the practice. Look for it and use it. In this way, relaxation is your intent. You are sitting down to practice, to move or lean into relaxation, but tension is your experience. Sensation, emotion, and thought will move towards you, and as you connect with them, you will become more tense, and then you will use relaxation to let those sensations, emotions, or thought go. You have a mind that filters, amplifies, seeks sameness or repetition. And so, whatever these pieces of tension or distraction are will become familiar over time, and you just continually lean into relaxation. Except for when a self emerges, requiring little for you to be at ease. Intent is like a flashlight. Take a look around the room that you're sitting in right now, and pretend with me that your intent, being in that room, is simply to sit in the chair, to be in the place that you are already at. In this place now, there is no distraction. You have arrived in this place. Now, imagine that your intent is to go to the door and to walk through the door. Now that you have an intent of moving to the door, every obstacle, including getting up out of the chair, is now a distraction, a barrier between yourself and where it is that you want to go. The direction of any kind of meditation is created by your intent. Intent often results in the experience of barriers to the satisfaction of that intent. The intent of this meditation is to relax. As a result, tension is experienced. At this point, hopefully you've been working the practice daily for about a week, 5 minutes a day. And you've noticed that there is some significant similarities to the sensations, emotions, and thoughts that come to you while you work the practice. And your experience of these distractions does not happen off in some other room that you get to impartially reflect upon. Instead, it is something that is occurring inside of you, is rich, is vital, is dynamic. We often want this sort of change to happen off in the distance, but in this practice, it doesn't happen. The change happens within us. You change. What I would like you to do now is to identify 3 of the distractions that come to you. Doesn't matter what they are. Could be an itchy nose, could be an emotional reaction, could be a cognitive or a thinking, problem solving, if you will. And I'd like you to put 1 in each of these boxes. And then I'd like you to imagine for a moment what it would be like to work your practice without these obstacles. Okay, so you've done the count from 10 to 0 meditation for the last week, and it's likely that at some point in those 6 or 7 meditations or relaxation exercises, you've stumbled across an experience of yourself which is more relaxed. So what I would like you to do is to simply recall or remember that sensation. Do this now. Remember how it felt. And now I want you to just give over to that feeling for a brief moment. Go ahead, feel free to use a breath if you like to surrender to it, but just return to that feeling. Or if you can't return to it, just imagine returning to it, because it makes no difference. Do this now. Good. So that is the beginning of the sensation-based practice, which I'm going to use to teach you how to meditate for the next 4 weeks. So each week I'm going to reintroduce the same practice, each week adding some information for tonight and for the remainder of the week. All I want you to do is simply to, and you don't need to do this right now, I'm going to talk about it first, but I just want you to normalize and then return to this sensation of relaxation that you just had. And just continue returning to it throughout the 5 minutes of your daily practice. And then that's it. Carry on with your day. If you want, you can continue returning to this practice for or the sensation of deepest relaxation for longer than 5 minutes if you like. However, 5 minutes is enough every day. Okay, so if you will, please have a seat in your chair and uncross your legs. Put your feet flat on the floor and your hands on your lap or on armrests that you have. And then if you're comfortable with it, I want you to close your eyes or just stare off into space, not at a window so you can be distracted, but just at a wall. But if you can, close your eyes. And then what I would like you to do is to simply normalize, which is to check in with how you are without making any kind of adjustments. So we start with our body. Where is your butt in the chair? Where are your feet on the floor? What direction are your eyes facing? Where is your tongue in your mouth? And cognitively, and your thinking, are you alert or drowsy? Do you feel focused or distracted? I don't need you to be anything different than you are. I just want you to know what is. And emotionally, are you happy or sad or angry or glad? again, without making any kind of changes or adjustments. I just want you to know where you're at right now. It's neither good or bad. It's just helpful. And as we relax, our awareness expands. Sensation, emotion, and thought are going to move towards you like someone on the street. I want you to continually move towards your deepest sensation of relaxation, whatever that is. And as these sensations, emotions, or thoughts move towards you, I want you to look at them, recognize them for what they are. An itchy nose, unresolved disagreement with someone, a frustration with loading an ink cartridge into a photocopier. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, these sensations, emotions, or thoughts are going to move towards you. Acknowledge them, and then just continue on relaxing. If you find at some point that you have joined with the tension, with the sensation, emotion, or thought, and begun the three-dimensional problem-solving exercise your mind does, gradually becoming more and more tense, I don't want you to be strict with yourself, because that would be the opposite of relaxation. Instead, what I would like you to do is to let go of the sensation, emotion, or thought, and just return to that deepest sensation of relaxation. And if you can't, just imagine doing it, because it makes no difference. And on again for the next 5 minutes. So now I want you to begin to imagine or experience your deepest sensation of emotion, your deepest sensation of relaxation from a previous meditation, whatever that is, and listen to my voice. Just this once, let go. Give in.